Today I'm going to be asking the question, can an electric car be as fun as your petrol powered car? And to find out, we're going to be setting this into insane, and we're going to be in sport suspension and heavy weight on the steering to try and get as authentic a feel as possible. I'm just going to do a short little run on all these back roads to see if it can be as good as a performance car, or at least a performance road car, in similar situations. And then hopefully we can answer the question of, is it as good as a performance car or a petrol car? Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what car you're driving, roadworks are never fun. And I've just missed it. Okay, so we're fully set up for as much fun as we can possibly have in this, because all the time I just see people saying, oh, I'm not going to have an electric car, I'm going to hold out for as long as possible. Great lane positioning there by that person. Felt that it was a bit slippy then. It's not long stopped raining, so the roads are quite greasy. Steering wheel weight definitely feels nice and firm. This thing in sport mode, in sport suspension, is something else, because the way it just flows around corners. Although, like a lot of newer cars, the steering is numb. It's not necessarily just an electric car problem, it's an electric power steering problem. You can stay as close to these white lines as you like. You know, knowing where the wheels are really aren't a problem. Slow down here. Don't usually use the brakes in this. Flick it around. I will, of course, stick to the speed limit as best as I can. So we've got a nice hill coming up here. Brakes feel good. Go round, foot down. Really felt it fight traction then. My foot went down and it was not ready, bam, go. But the feel is, yes, I'm not crashing. I know what I'm doing. It doesn't roll at all. It's a big benefit to having the battery so low down. I can't imagine that there's many cars, internal combustion engine cars, that can keep up with the low center of gravity that this has got. Going up here, it just feels so controllable. Just using the regen braking around that bit. missed the pothole, and then there's a weird dip on that side. And now the fun's going to be ruined by other people. It's truly phenomenal what they've managed to do. 1 minute when you're in standard settings, light steering, standard power, which still has enough to be fun. You don't really need to use insane. I would have liked to have shown the capabilities around this corner because it's quite a nice right and left. And the sport suspension is still perfectly fine from the road. It's a bit jittery. I mean, the roads around here are awful anyway. But I mentioned in my previous video, it's just like BMW M Sport suspension. That's the only comparison I can really make for accuracy. It's not uncomfortable. You can definitely feel that you're in sport mode. If I didn't know what setting I was on now, I would say, without any doubt, this was the sport setting. Definitely firmer. The weight to the steering, what I don't like about the heavy steering is, like now, for the first, that little bit there is light. And then as you get progressively around the corner, it just suddenly gets weighty. Almost to the point where it feels like you're fighting the autopilot. It feels like there's a little bit of resistance. It doesn't feel natural, which is why the standard is so much better, because you don't get that. It just feels so much more natural than the other setting, than heavy. I use standard as my sporty driving setting, and then light as my just everyday comfort setting. As far as fun driving goes, though, we're doing 39 miles an hour to 60. There's some Vauxhall Mariva, I think. Awful car. And then a Volvo and a Ford Estate. I think it'd be fairer just to say that electric cars aren't inherently boring, because there are so many boring petrol and diesel cars that far outweigh fun petrol and diesel cars. And there's a subcategory of that where people won't even think that diesel cars are fun, doesn't matter what capacity it is. So yeah, unfortunately, when the road is open, is it a fun car? Yeah. I've had BMWs in the past, and it's just as fun around all of these roads as the BMW or the BMWs have been. The only thing is noise. But I can't help it. I like the childish, futuristic whining noise of the motors. It's not as good as a V8, but it's good enough. I mean, we can get to 30 like that. Unfortunately, that's as much as I can do on this bit.